All right, we tried earlier to introduce California Assemblywoman Mia Bonta. She represents the 18th Assembly District. That includes Oakland, Alameda, Emeryville. There you are. I didn't know if you just didn't want to talk to me or if it was a sound problem. It was a sound problem. Thank you. Thanks for your patience and for doing this. Can I start with the government's voluntary return program? Unaccompanied minors would get $2,500 to return to their home countries. We don't really know yet whether that's being widely accepted. Just took effect yesterday, but what are your thoughts?
My thought is that this is another example of Trump deciding to exploit children instead of protecting our Constitution. This is a policy that came forward after the Trump administration already took action to cut nearly $200 million of funding for legal representation for unaccompanied minors. And this is a blow. It is a false choice that would essentially offer a $2,500 stipend for supposed voluntary self-deportation. But in reality, it would strip away a child's rights to be able to stay in the United States and go through the immigration process, and is quite nefarious.
Well, tell us more, because what do we know about these young people? Are some of them living with relatives? Do some of them have nowhere in particular to go? Who are they, basically?
Well, in California, there are actually 11,000 unaccompanied minors that we know of. They range in age from birth to up to 17 years old, and they're people who are fleeing persecution, poverty, and alienation from their home countries, who have come to the United States. They end up not having anybody with them, and often get detained by Homeland Security and put into detention, or into foster care, or are sponsored by somebody. So they are alone, and they are children, and they are seeking asylum and a way to be able to legally go through the immigration process here in the United States.
And where are many of them now? Maybe you said that. I just wanted to clarify.
Many of them, they can be in some of the detention centers that they have here. Many get sponsored. Many are in foster care throughout our system in California. So they are spread throughout, but the bottom line is, at the end of the day, they do not have legal representation to be able to go through what is often a very complex civil process to be able to go through the court system to gain citizenship here in California and the United States.
As I don't need to tell you, I'm sure some critics argue if it did happen, it would be a huge expense for taxpayers. What would you say to them?
I think there's a huge expense on ensuring that we have the ability to have people have a right to be able to be in the United States. They're here already. They have protected rights and a guarantee of the ability to pursue immigration under the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. So they're here legally and seeking to be able to seek citizenship. So paying them a paltry $2,500 to be able to give up their legal rights is not only expensive, but it's unconscionable. It's not going to lead to anything besides children being taken advantage of, and threatened that there will be actions committed against their parents and their family should they decide to not take this supposed voluntary agreement, and will lead to, actually, at the end of the day, more expense for this country and the state. So we absolutely need to do something about this. I have a piece of legislation that's sitting on the governor's desk right now, AB 1261, that would ensure that unaccompanied minors have access to representation. And given the federal government's actions, that is a piece of legislation that is needed now more than ever.
I was going to ask you about that. It is on the governor's desk. You're expecting him, I assume, to sign that. Let me ask this while we have time. The Trump administration did face a big setback yesterday. An appeals court upheld an injunction that blocked the president's executive order to end birthright citizenship. Your reaction to that?
You know, I think this is, the fourth or fifth time where our justice system has prevailed, where the Constitution has prevailed, and where the American people have prevailed in telling Trump yet again that thinking about destroying a constitutional right by executive order to acknowledge birthright citizenship is something that is, was clearly a part of his agenda, but is certainly against the will of the American people and deemed to be, yet again, completely against the Constitution and protection of our constitutional rights.
All right, I also want to ask you, it's kind of a hot topic, the Ice Block app. As you know, it's being removed from Apple apps, and it allowed people to track ICE agents and then spread the word on their locations. Your reaction to that move by Apple apps?
Let's think about what is happening right now. We have people who are law-abiding, who are going about their day, contributing to the economy, and who are fearful of ICE right now, ICE raids, and the destruction of their families. We have somebody who was able to crowdsource an opportunity to build awareness in communities to be able to avoid ICE so that people aren't swept up, whether they are here documented or undocumented, into the ICE traps that have been set by this federal administration. And we have Apple and tech companies doing exactly what we don't need them to do. We need Apple and others to be able to show courage in this moment, not kowtow to the federal administration. It's a violation of free speech, is what I think about this, and it takes away a very necessary tool in this terrible moment for a lot of people.
We're out of time, but Assemblywoman Mia Bonta, very gracious of you to take the time to do this for us. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And we're going to be right back after a break.